APEC 2018 in Papua New Guinea. Harnessing inclusive opportunities. Hobnob with the global decision makers as Tian Wei presents diverse voices and sharp interviews.
Our APEC Time special, only on World Insight. Hello and welcome to APEC Time, a special program of World Insight coming to you from Papua New Guinea for APEC 2018. I'm Tian Wei. Chinese President Xi Jinping arrives on Thursday in the island country. This is the very first time for him to have a state visit here. This is also the very first visit by any Chinese president in this country. Followed by the state visit, the Chinese president is going to have a very busy schedule here in Papua New Guinea for the APEC Economic Leaders Meeting and the APEC CEO Summit. Take a look at this.
The largest Pacific island country welcomes a Chinese head of state for the first time. President Xi Jinping arrived in Papua New Guinea on Thursday, the first leg of his three-country tour in the region, where he'll also attend the APEC meetings. Port Moresby rolled out red carpet for President Xi, with the PNG capital all dressed up for Chinese guests. The flags of the two countries lined the road, and a prominent billboard showed President Xi shaking hands with his Papua New Guinea counterpart, Peter O'Neill. The photo was taken in June this year during Prime Minister O'Neill's trip to China, when PNG became the first South Pacific nation to formally join China's Belt and Road Initiative. Though rich in natural resources, Papua New Guinea is the poorest among APEC's 21 economies and faces many challenges. China is one of PNG's top trading and aid partners and has pledged billions of dollars worth of infrastructure projects that amounts to almost a quarter of the country's GDP. Chinese investments have done wonders for Port Moresby, from roads to buildings. According to local reports, President Xi will officially open a Chinese-funded school on Friday. Papua New Guinea established official diplomatic relations with China in 1976, soon after it became independent in 1975, as China's economy grew, prompting PNG's neighbors, Australia and New Zealand, to take notice. Also members of APEC, they will be watching closely during the summit when President Xi holds a special meeting with Pacific Island leaders. U.S. Vice President Mike Pence, who will represent U.S. President Donald Trump in the APEC meeting, will also take the occasion to maintain U.S. ties with the region. For the people of Papua New Guinea, they're counting on the arrival of world leaders to lift their mountainous Pacific nation, home to hundreds of tribal groups, out of obscurity and attract investments. As the title of President Xi's signed article published in a local PNG paper says, relations between China and Pacific Island countries are about to set sail on a new voyage.
With a population of 8 million, Papua New Guinea is making all the effort to make sure the APEC could be a good success with all the support it could get over the past 3 years. About the final preparation and also the expectation of the outcome, I talked to the APEC Minister of Papua New Guinea, Justin Tkatchenko. Let's listen in. Mr. Minister, welcome to CGTN.
Thank you.
You are running around today, have a final look together with the Prime Minister about the final preparations. How's everything?
Everything will be APEC ready. The Prime Minister is very happy, and all the areas we went to, the APEC House, the Media Centre at the Tarama Aquatic Centre, and of course the Hilton Hotel where the gala dinner will be hosted, are all in full preparation and ready to go.
And here as well,
yeah,
the Pacific Explorer.
Absolutely. This is easy because it's already set and done. It makes life a lot easier. Yeah.
And we are here already get ready for the final few days. Mr. Minister, this has been a hectic process, I have to say, for a country of 8 million people, Papua New Guinea, to host an event where you have almost 1/3 of the world's population's head of state coming over.
That's right.
That's really something.
Look, it's an absolute honour, and we have created history for our country, hosting 20 leaders from the biggest world economies here in our beautiful country. Most of them will be the first time they've ever set foot in Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea. So it's very historical and very meaningful for our people and for our country.
I know there's a lot of internal debate inside your country as well. I mean, your country is not certainly a very developed economy. Money is important, time is important, and yet a lot of efforts has to be made and investment made on this project. So how do you weigh the pros and cons?
Look, this will be the cheapest APEC meeting that has ever been held. We'll do it the Pacific way, but with the funding that we've spent, it is there as an investment for the future, exposing the country to the rest of the world, one, providing new investment opportunities and economic opportunities as well as moving the country forward in getting a broader perspective of how we can develop the country now into the future, and also selling our commodities is very, very important to the world market.
For an economy like yours, how do you see that? I mean, you're rich in natural resources, but on the other hand, you want to see the best deal for your country as well in any kinds of cooperation. So what is the best deal to you now when you think about the approaching APEC?
Look, we're going to have some new relationships with China, with Australia, our former past colonial administration, and also many other countries like the United States of America, where we will be signing new agreements, new infrastructure development projects for the long-term benefit of our people and our country, and definitely our economy. It will create brand new jobs, it will bring up our revenue base, and it will really help our country for the long term.
And I understand China is not only building schools here in Papua New Guinea, but also roads, many infrastructure projects, buildings as well, hotels. What about that cooperation?
Look, the Chinese input into Papua New Guinea when it comes to infrastructure and development has increased over 100%. And it's all positive infrastructure. They're also training and bringing up and working with our people in partnership. We've got thousands and thousands of Papua New Guineans working for these Chinese companies as well, skilled labour, skilled people, helping the capacity of those companies here in our country. So without that infrastructure and development, then the employment would not be as it is, and the skill base would not be getting that experience or know-how for their better enhancement. So when you look at the roads and the infrastructure that they're building a brand new courthouse, they're building the National Court, a lot of infrastructure buildings, and so on. As you said, they also, the Chinese president will be opening our brand new Paduka Academy, which is going to educate 3,500 Papua New Guineans every year.
Yes.
And with that school as well, they're going to be teaching them as compulsory classes, which will be Mandarin.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, so primary and secondary schools, Papua New Guinea school children will have the compulsory teaching of Mandarin in their classes, which will give them fantastic opportunity when it comes to employment and other things into the future.
And certainly this is a sign of friendship, but more than that, it is your own prosperity, your own businesses opportunities that you're thinking about.
That's right. And it's not only in infrastructure, the agricultural potential as well, as one of the biggest food bowls in the region, can help assist China too, with rice and sugar and many other projects that I'm sure the Australian and also Chinese communities will definitely need. So we've got to look at a broader spectrum. Just don't put our eggs in one basket, and see where our countries from all the different economies can assist us grow our nation.
Papua New Guinea, really, you have put yourself into the spotlight, I have to say so.
Absolutely.
And as a result of that, there are so many different things people talk about you and the ways they look at you. Some might be very much linked to reality, some might not necessarily. So
Correct.
it's about perceptions rather than anything else. So people also talk about your budget, saying it is kind of risky. How would you respond to those comments?
No, our budget's not risky. It's very sound. And it bases itself on our people and what we can afford and what we can do. And where we invest is in our districts, in our people, education, free health, very important. Healthy society, productive society. Educated society, well, we can just level mountains. So we're putting our money into areas where it will assist the country in the long term.
Right.
And that's very, very important.
It's very important and also rare, I have to say, for many of the politicians these days. Only 2 to 4 years.
Yeah, that's true.
the cycle they're looking at.
Well, yeah.
Mr. Minister, having said that, though, we see a lot of security building up right now. Right? Well, talking. On the sea, in the air.
Correct.
We understand many countries are assisting your country in order to build that system. But
Yes.
that means also a lot of liaison work and interactions, how different systems can work together.
Yeah.
So tell us about what is the latest.
Look, the Australian government has assisted us from day one. This has been a 3-year program on defence cooperation between Australia and the Papua New Guinea Defence Force. And not only that, we also have New Zealand and the United States of America assisting as well on land, air and sea reconnaissance and security. They have enhanced our soldiers and our capacity and our ability and taken us to the next level. So it's not just for APEC, it's a long-term building capacity in the Defence Force, in the police force and also the CIS. So it's a long-term development that will ensure we get the best we possibly can from the training and all the experience, and this will enhance our soldiers and also our police and take them to another level that they've never been before. But I can tell you, Port Moresby will be in a bubble, a security bubble. We have over 4,000 troops and personnel on ground when it comes to security. And that is Papua New Guinea Defence, Police, the Australian Federal Police, as well as the Australian Army as well, or the Defence Force. We have HMS Adelaide out, the helicopter gunship out in the harbour, with the US also battleship out there as well, and we'll be getting a New Zealand one as well. These are just precautions. I mean, you know, prevention is better than cure.
That's right.
And we have to make sure that all the world leaders that come here and all the economies are very happy that they are in a safe environment here in Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea for APEC.
On the other hand, Mr. Minister, when the leaders of these 21 economic entities come over here, they would ask, oh, is that the kind of cooperation that Papua New Guinea only seeking, the defense cooperation with the United States, with New Zealand or Australia?
No, that's just part of it. It's a small part of it, actually. The security part of it is only a small part of what these countries do for Papua New Guinea, but Australia does quite a lot in aid, especially aid, assisting us in education, health, and infrastructure as well. So it's a small corporation where we see we had some gaps that needed to be filled and need to be rectified, and the Australians came in and assisted with this.
Since the Belt and Road Initiative raised by China years ago, there seems to be a momentum in the world that developed economy once again take a look back at the developing countries and say, oh, this is the players that really we need to work with. And you see an apparent competition going on over there about how to pair with developing economies. Mr. Minister, how do you see this interesting phenomenon, isn't it? I mean, 5 years ago, there seems to be quite a divide between the developed and developing countries. And now, there seems to be more possibilities of cooperation and even competition for cooperation.
Well, it's a benefit to Papua New Guinea because we're getting support from both sides that we've never had before. Australia has really picked up since China has come on board and been a big force throughout the Pacific. And we have a long-term relationship with China. It goes back to 1975 when we declared our independence, and we proclaimed with China that we support the One China policy. With that, the relationship has been fruitful ever since, but grown bigger and bigger really over the last 5 years. So we support the One Belt, One Road initiative. Our government works with the Chinese government on that, and we look forward to the fruits of that coming out with the cooperation and partnership supporting that initiative.
Right. Mr. Minister, have you realized, I'm sure you have, that this place is not just going to be Papua New Guinea and the rest of the world. This place is going to be where the world is debating about its own future.
Correct.
Everybody. There might be very different opinions right down there in the meeting hall.
True.
Where the state leaders or the leaders of the economies, 21 from the APEC region, going to deliver their speeches.
Correct.
You bet there are going to be some very different ideas about how the world should be like. What do you make of that? That there could be, in some even say, a battleground of ideas.
There will be. There will be a lot of different ideas, and you can already see it between China, America, and Canada and America. And
Australia and America?
Australia, of course, that's right, with free trade and tariffs and all the rest of it. Yes, you know, Papua New Guinea sits there in a very positive position because we're not fighting with anybody. So our Prime Minister, as the chair of APEC, can be a good adjudicator to work out a proper way forward.
Or go between her, because eventually they have to come up with something.
That's right, and he's very good at that. So for us,
you leave all the jobs to the Prime Minister.
Prime Minister is very good at adjudicating and getting an outcome for the benefit of everybody. But free trade is what we want, and it's not just about this fantastic event called APEC that we are hosting and which I'm in charge of as the minister. It's about outcomes. What are the outcomes? The positive outcomes in legislation and policy that will affect all our economies for the 21 nations now and into the future for the benefit of our people.
Okay,
that's
Mr. Minister, to you, your people, your government, what is that positive outcome? Give me some keywords.
Okay, so free trade.
Okay.
Definitely.
Free trade, only bilateral trade, multilateral trade?
Multilateral, bilateral, with everybody. We have to have an open market where we can sell our products like oil and gas and copper and gold and coffee and copra and all the great products we sell. We have to have an open market where we can get the best price for our people. That's very, very important. Then you come down to investment opportunities for people to come into our country, a win-win situation. Tax concessions, inviting people to come on a harmoniously open prospectus where people can have opportunities where they never had before to invest their money, to grow their businesses and all the rest of it.
To get rid of the embargoes, to get rid of the barriers.
Correct. And also then that opens up job opportunities for our people, for small business minded people as well, want to send up their little contracts and businesses as well to counteract off those bigger companies, SMEs and so on. So the policy outcomes will determine how we go into the future. This is a digital economy that we're talking about as well. So how can we also benefit from that in the long term?
People now these days, at least some of them, are looking at trade and economic interaction as part of the geopolitics. I know many countries would rather separate them because they don't want to stand in lines that would erase them from the opportunities. What do you make of that rationale? Politics, geopolitics, and trade all mixed up.
Like I always believe that politics should not mix into that equation. We should leave it to the professionals, those that know what they are doing. A lot of us as politicians think we know what we're doing, but we don't. With trade and investment and politics, yes, the political know-how and leadership for making decisions are there, but allow the professionals that know what they're doing, know what the situation is on the ground or in the market, dictate to us in a true and honest fashion so that we can make decisions on reliable, concrete, bulletproof decisions and information that will then take us forward without fear or favor.
Mr. Minister, before we go, 16th of November, the APEC CEO Summit is going to be held over there.
Correct.
Opening panel, big discussion about globalization and trade. On the 17th, you have the leaders of the 21 economies, many of them speaking as well, including Chinese President Xi Jinping.
Correct.
Mr. Minister, from your perspective, what are some of the points that you would like to listen to in President Xi's speech? What messages are you looking for?
For President Xi's speech, we would like to see where he's going to take China now and into the future. What's his plans to help assist countries like Papua New Guinea, and what investment and what opportunities are available to Papua New Guinea for our future prosperity, working with China, partnering with China. I think we would like to hear what his dreams and aspirations are.
Certainly, the 3 years preparation have got you where you are. Having said that, though, there are other things going on. Let's just say, what eventually will be the outcome?
Outcome of APEC? Well, for us, hopefully, once again, will be the exposure.
Yeah, sure.
We would like to see that people would look at us more as a tourist destination as well, especially out of China. That's a big market to utilize. Also look at where we can go in the future with our commodities, selling it to all our different people. But it's about also attracting investment as well, and that's the other thing.